The gleaming glass and steel towers of Geneva sparkled under the morning sun as diplomatic vehicles glided silently through the city streets. Inside Earth's Security Council headquarters, tension filled the air. The Centaurian ambassadors had requested an emergency meeting, something unprecedented in the 15 years since first contact. Commander Park Ho-jin stood at attention near the main conference room entrance, his crisp Earth Defense Force uniform a stark contrast to the casual attire of the passing diplomats. At 42, his black hair had started showing traces of gray at the temples, earned through years of military service. His dark eyes scanned each person who entered, a habit from his security training that he had never managed to break. The Centaurian delegation arrived precisely on schedule. Ambassador Key led the group, his blue-scaled form towering nearly 7 feet tall. Unlike their usual ceremonial robes, the Centaurians wore simple travel clothes. Ho-jin noticed their characteristic head frills were pulled tight against their skulls, a sign of extreme distress in their species. Commander Park, Key greeted him with a slight bow. Even after all these years, the musical quality of their speech still fascinated Ho-jin. "I wish we met under better circumstances." The conference room filled quickly. Representatives from every major Earth nation took their seats around the circular table. Holographic displays flickered to life, connecting with officials who couldn't attend in person. Ho-jin moved to his designated position behind the South Korean delegation. Ambassador Key stepped to the center of the room. His hand shook slightly as he placed a small device on the table. "Honored representatives of Earth, we come to you today with grave news." The device activated, projecting a three-dimensional image above the table. The room fell silent as they watched footage of a peaceful Centaurian colony world. Beautiful crystal spires reached toward purple skies, while transport vessels moved smoothly between them. The peace shattered as dark ships appeared in orbit. Their angular, predatory designs were unlike anything in Earth's database. Energy weapons lashed out, cutting through orbital defenses. The footage switched to ground level, showing civilians running in panic as buildings crumbled around them. The Draxid Empire. Key's voice cracked with emotion. "They attacked without warning or provocation. 3 of our outer colonies have fallen. Millions are dead or missing." Ho-jin's jaw clenched as he watched a Centaurian child help an elderly alien to safety, moments before their shelter was hit by weapon fire. The footage cut out. "We have long known of the Draxids," another Centaurian ambassador added. "They believe in racial superiority and expansion through conquest. Until now, they considered our defensive capabilities too strong to attack directly. Something has changed." The room erupted in questions. Ho-jin observed as Earth's politicians demanded details about Draxid military strength, their technological level, and potential threats to Earth. The Centaurians answered each query with patience, even as their distress became more visible. During a brief pause, Ho-jin's mind drifted back to 15 years ago. He had been a young lieutenant when the Centaurians first arrived. Their massive ships appeared over every major city, not as conquerors but as friends. They freely shared technology that helped Earth clean its oceans, restore its atmosphere, and reach for the stars. Some had distrusted their generosity, but the Centaurians asked nothing in return except friendship and cultural exchange. They helped humanity establish its first colonies on Mars and Europa. Their medical technology had cured several forms of cancer. Earth's economy and standard of living had improved dramatically thanks to their aid. Ambassador Key's voice brought Ho-jin back to the present. "We understand if Earth wishes to remain neutral. Your species is still establishing itself beyond your solar system. The Draxids have not yet turned their attention toward Earth." The UN Secretary-General leaned forward. "What exactly are you asking of us?" "We need military aid," Key said simply. "The Draxids have developed new weapons that bypass our defensive systems. We require time to adapt. Without help, more colonies will fall." Silence filled the room. Ho-jin could see the politicians weighing options, calculating risks and benefits. The Centaurians had been good allies, But war with an advanced alien empire was a frightening prospect. The Chinese representative spoke first. "What do we know of Draxid military capabilities?" A new hologram appeared, showing the enemy ships in detail. "Their technology level is similar to ours," the Centaurian military attaché explained. "They favor energy weapons and have powerful shields. Their tactical doctrine relies on overwhelming force and fear." More questions followed. Jin noticed something interesting. The Earth representatives were not asking if they should help, but how. The decision seemed already made in their hearts. They were just working out the details. Finally, the Secretary General called for a vote. Jin held his breath as the count was taken. One by one, the lights on the voting display turned green. "It is unanimous," the Secretary General announced. "Earth will stand with our Centaurian allies." Ambassador Key's head frills relaxed slightly, showing relief. "We are deeply grateful. But you must understand the risks. The Draxids will not show mercy to humans who oppose them." The American representative stood. "Neither did the problems we faced before you helped us. Earth remembers its friends, Ambassador. We will not stand idle while they suffer." Jin received new orders on his comm unit as the meeting concluded. The Earth Defense Force was mobilizing. As he prepared to leave, Ambassador Key approached him. "Commander Park, your ships will need modifications to face Draxid weapons. We will provide the specifications immediately." Jin nodded. "We'll be ready, Ambassador. Humanity has learned much since we reached the stars. The Draxids may find we're not as weak as they expect." As he left the building, Jin looked up at the clear blue sky. Somewhere up there, people were suffering. But humanity had faced extinction-level threats before and survived. They had overcome their own wars, environmental disaster, and resource depletion. Now they would face their first interstellar war, not for conquest or resources, but to protect their friends. The next day, as Jin boarded his transport to the lunar military base, news of Earth's decision was broadcasting worldwide. Public support was overwhelmingly positive. Humanity had grown beyond its cradle, and it was time to prove they deserved their place among the stars. Stars rippled like water as the EDF Daedalus tore through spacetime, leading Earth's hidden fleet toward their first major engagement. Captain Kim Ji-woo sat in her command chair, her fingers lightly tapping the armrest as they approached the exit point. At 38, she had spent most of her career preparing for a moment she hoped would never come. The bridge crew worked in focused silence, each member triple-checking their stations. Through the main viewport, the quantum slip effect created streams of light that reminded Ji-woo of ancient tales of sea voyages. The comparison felt appropriate. They were about to make history just like those old naval battles she had studied so carefully. "Exit point in 30 seconds, announced Lieutenant Park at navigation. His voice was steady, but Ji-woo noticed how tightly he gripped his console. Ji-woo opened a secure channel to the fleet. "All ships, final status check." One by one, confirmation lights turned green on her display. 342 vessels, the largest fleet humanity had ever assembled, all equipped with technology that even their Centaurian allies didn't know they possessed. Exit in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Reality snapped back into focus. The Daedalus emerged near the outer edge of the New Hope system. The planet hung in space ahead of them, once a jewel of Centaurian civilization, now occupied by Draxid forces. Ji-woo could see the enemy ships in orbit, 15 heavy cruisers, and their support vessels. "Ghost protocols active," reported Commander Lee from Tactical. "Hull quantum shift at maximum efficiency. We're reading as background radiation on their sensors." Ji-woo allowed herself a small smile. The quantum shift technology had been humanity's most closely guarded secret. While the Centaurians had helped Earth reach the stars, humans had quietly developed their own innovations. The quantum-shifted hulls didn't just hide their ships, they made them seem like empty space. The rest of the fleet emerged behind them, each ship automatically adjusting its position according to carefully planned formations. To any observer, it would appear as nothing more than slight distortions in the starfield, easily dismissed as atmospheric effects. All ships maintain radio silence. Ji Woo ordered through the secure quantum channel. Proceed to designated positions. Remember your training. The fleet split into 3 groups, just as they had practiced countless times in the simulator. Ji Woo commanded the central force, while the other groups moved to flank the unsuspecting Draxid fleet. Minutes crept by as they closed the distance. Ji Woo studied the enemy vessels through enhanced imagery. The Draxid ships were impressive, their dark hulls covered in weapon emplacements. But they had a critical weakness. They relied too heavily on energy shields and had minimal physical armor. Enemy vessels maintaining standard patrol pattern, Tactical reported. No indication they've detected us. Ji Woo watched the distance counter tick down. Their weapons have been modified based on Centaurian data about Draxid shield frequencies. The first strike would be crucial. They needed to take out as many ships as possible before the enemy could organize a response. All ships, prepare to engage. Ji Woo sent when they reached optimal range. Weapons free on my mark. She took a deep breath, thinking of all the historical battles she had studied. From ancient naval warfare to space combat simulations, one truth remained constant: surprise and coordination could overcome superior numbers and technology. 3, 2, 1, mark. 342 ships dropped their quantum shifts simultaneously. The Draxid fleet suddenly found themselves surrounded by a human armada that seemed to materialize from nowhere. Before they could react, the space around them erupted with weapons fire. Modified plasma torpedoes struck their targets with devastating accuracy. The Draxid shields, calibrated for standard energy weapons, provided little protection against humanity's hybrid technology. 3 enemy cruisers exploded in the opening salvo. Multiple direct hits. Tactical reported with carefully controlled excitement. Enemy fleet is attempting to regroup. The Draxid ships that survived the initial attack tried to form a defensive formation, but they were too slow. The human fleet executed their practiced maneuvers perfectly, maintaining the initiative. The Daedalus led its group straight through the enemy formation, its weapons blazing. Keep the pressure on, Ji Woo ordered. Don't give them time to adapt their shields. A Draxid cruiser turned to face them, its weapon ports glowing. The Daedalus rolled smoothly to avoid the energy blast while returning fire. Their modified weapons struck true, cutting through the enemy's shields and tearing into its hull. The battle lasted less than 15 minutes. When it ended, the Draxid occupation fleet had been reduced to drifting debris. The human fleet had lost only 4 ships, their crews safely evacuated thanks to advanced escape systems. Begin search and rescue operations, Ji Woo ordered. I want any surviving Draxid crew recovered. They might have valuable intelligence. As her crew carried out their orders, Ji Woo allowed herself to relax slightly. Their first major engagement had been a success, but she knew this was just the beginning. The Draxid Empire would respond with full force once they learned what had happened. Send word to Earth Command, she told her communications officer. New Hope systems secured. Preparing for ground operations. Looking at the planet below, Ji Woo thought about the Centaurian civilians who had suffered under Draxid occupation. Help had arrived, though not in the form anyone had expected. The supposedly young and primitive humans had just proven themselves far more capable than anyone had imagined. Captain, her tactical officer called out, we're detecting transmissions from the surface. The Centaurian resistance is requesting contact. Ji Woo nodded. Put them through. It's time to show the Draxids what happens when they threaten humanity's friends. The liberation of New Hope had begun, and with it, a clear message was sent across the galaxy. Humanity's technological advancement had been greatly underestimated, and they were ready to fight for their allies. Lieutenant Lee Min-ji crouched behind a fallen pillar, her powered armor sensors tracking enemy movements through the ruins of New Hope's capital city. Dawn was breaking over the shattered crystal spires, casting long shadows across streets littered with debris. Her platoon of 20 soldiers waited silently for her signal, their own armor systems synchronized with hers. 3 Draxid patrols converging on Market Square. Her second-in-command whispered through the secure comm. They're searching building by building. Minji studied the tactical display inside her helmet. The Draxid soldiers moved with precision, their heavy armor gleaming dully in the early light. They carried advanced plasma rifles and moved in tight formation, clearly well-trained. But they were also predictable. "Remember your training," Minji told her troops. "Let them pass the first marker. Team 1 will spring the trap. Teams 2 and 3 hit them from the sides. Watch for their heavy weapons." She had studied recordings of Draxid ground combat tactics extensively. They relied on brute force and superior firepower, expecting their enemies to either flee or fight head-on. But humans had centuries of experience fighting against superior forces. The first Draxid patrol passed the designated point, a fallen transport that Minji's team had carefully positioned the night before. She waited 3 more seconds, letting the enemy soldiers bunch up slightly. Now, Team 1 triggered their prepared surprise. Sonic pulses, calibrated to the exact frequency that disrupted Draxid armor systems, blasted from hidden emitters. The alien soldiers staggered, their formations breaking as their suits malfunctioned. Minji's troops struck from 3 directions. Their powered armor, painted in urban camouflage patterns, let them move quickly despite the heavy weapons they carried. Modified pulse rifles fired in short, controlled bursts, targeting the weak points they had identified in previous encounters. "Keep moving," Minji ordered, leading her team forward. "Don't let them regroup." The Draxids tried to recover, but human tactics proved superior in close combat. Years of studying historical urban warfare had taught Minji's troops how to use every piece of cover, every angle of attack. Within minutes, the first patrol was down. Second patrol responding. Tactical warned. "They're calling for reinforcements." Minji smiled behind her visor. "Good. Spring the second trap." As the Draxid reinforcements rushed to help their comrades, they found their route blocked by precisely dropped debris. While they tried to clear a path, human snipers picked them off from hidden positions in the surrounding buildings. The battle flowed through the ruins like a deadly dance. Minji's troops never stayed in one place long enough to be targeted, using their armor's enhanced mobility to strike and fade away. The Draxids grew frustrated, their disciplined formations breaking down as they tried to engage an enemy that seemed to be everywhere and nowhere. "Lieutenant," a new voice broke into her comm. "Centaurian resistance fighters approaching from the east. They're using our recognition signals." Minji had been waiting for this. The surviving citizens of New Hope had been fighting back against their occupiers for weeks. Now they would have proper support. "Let them through. Maintain covered fire." A group of Centaurians emerged from a side street, moving with impressive stealth despite their larger size. They carried a mix of salvaged Draxid weapons and their own technology. Their leader approached Minji's position, while the rest took up defensive positions. "Lieutenant Lee." The Centaurian's translator conveyed his words clearly. "I am Resistance Commander Tal. We've been waiting for this day." Minji nodded. "Commander, we have a plan to clear this sector. Your people know the city better than we do. We need your guidance." Tal quickly shared detailed information about Draxid patrol patterns and strong points. The Resistance had spent weeks gathering intelligence, watching and waiting for their chance to strike back. "They have a command center in the old government building," Tal explained, "but it's heavily fortified. We haven't found a way past their defenses." Minji studied the building's layout on her tactical display. "We don't need to get past them. We just need them to think we're trying to." The combined human and Centaurian forces put the plan into action. Small teams made probing attacks on the command center, drawing Draxid forces into defensive positions. Meanwhile, the main force moved through maintenance tunnels that the Resistance had kept secret. "All teams in position," Minji confirmed after an hour of careful preparation. "Begin final phase." The attack came from all directions at once. Human troops burst from hidden access points, while resistance fighters provided covering fire. Minjai led her team straight through the front entrance, their armor shrugging off initial plasma bolts. "Push forward," she ordered. "Don't let them establish a defense line." The Draxids found themselves fighting enemies who seemed to know their every move before they made it. Resistance fighters guided human troops through shortcuts and ambush points, turning the complex building into a deadly maze for its occupiers. Room by room, floor by floor, they cleared the command center. Minji's troops used their mobility and coordination to devastating effect, while the Centaurians demonstrated their own considerable combat skills. Finally, they reached the central control room. The remaining Draxid officers surrendered when they realized they were surrounded. Minji secured the prisoners while Tal's resistance fighters began accessing the enemy computer systems. "Lieutenant," Tal said as they watched their troops secure the building, "your people fight with remarkable skill." The Draxids thought humans were simple creatures who had been gifted spaceflight by us. They were very wrong. Minji removed her helmet, letting her see the liberation of New Hope with her own eyes. "We learned from every war in our history, Commander. The Draxids expected us to fight like them, directly and with brute force. They didn't understand that humans are at their most dangerous when they're protecting their friends." As she looked out over the city, Minji could see more human dropships arriving, bringing reinforcements and supplies. The liberation of New Hope was just beginning, but the most important lesson had already been taught. Humanity might be young among the stars, but they were far from inexperienced in the art of war. Intelligence Officer Choi Sung-ho stared at the data streaming across his screens in the underground facility beneath Seoul. The patterns were there, hidden in everyday information: shipping manifests, communication logs, financial transactions. 3 months of careful analysis had led to this moment. "Review the Singapore incident again," he told his assistant. The younger analyst pulled up footage from a dock worker's routine inspection camera. Sung-ho watched carefully as containers were unloaded from a cargo ship. "There," he pointed, "that worker's movements are wrong." The figure on screen moved efficiently, but with an unusual precision that didn't match human body language. Sung-ho had spent years studying how different species moved. The Draxids were excellent at disguise, but they couldn't perfectly mimic human mannerisms. "Cross-reference all dock workers hired within the last year," he ordered. "Look for similar movement patterns." His team worked through the night, analyzing footage from ports across Earth. They found 12 more suspects, all hired through different agencies, but with subtle connections in their background documentation. "They're building a network," Sung-ho said softly. "But why focus on shipping? The Draxids have faster ways to move supplies." The answer came at dawn. One of his analysts discovered that every suspected infiltrator had handled containers bound for research facilities, Earth's quantum technology labs, shield testing centers, and weapons development sites all received regular shipments through these ports. "They're not moving supplies," Sung-ho realized. "They're gathering intelligence about our capabilities." He immediately alerted Earth Defense Command, but didn't move to arrest the suspects. Years of counterintelligence work had taught him the value of watching and waiting. The infiltrators would lead them to bigger targets. His patience paid off 3 days later. A routine scan of orbital traffic revealed a pattern of brief, encrypted bursts. The signals were cleverly hidden in normal communication noise, but Earth's systems had been designed to detect such deception. "The infiltrators are reporting to someone," Sung-ho explained to his superiors in a secure briefing. "The signal pattern suggests a nearby staging point. The Draxids must have a hidden base in our solar system." The search narrowed to the asteroid belt. Human mining operations had mapped most large objects, but countless smaller rocks could hide a stealth facility. Sung-ho's team analyzed years of sensor data, looking for anomalies. Here, he highlighted a cluster of readings. Asteroid BX-249. Its orbit shows microscopic corrections consistent with hidden thrusters. Special operations teams confirmed his theory. The asteroid contained a small Draxid intelligence post, carefully shielded from detection. The facility was captured intact, providing a treasure trove of information. "They've been watching us for years," Sung Ho told his team as they decoded the captured data. "Since before they attacked the Centaurians, they were assessing whether we could threaten their plans." The intelligence revealed something even more valuable: coordinates for a major Draxid supply base. The facility supported their entire campaign against the Centaurian colonies. Without it, their advance would stall. Sung Ho worked through the night, analyzing the base's defenses and vulnerabilities. The Draxids were thorough, but their focus on technology left gaps that human intuition could exploit. "Their security assumes enemies will use standard approaches," he explained to the fleet commanders. "They don't expect unconventional tactics." The commanders listened carefully as Sung Ho outlined a potential attack plan. Years of studying human military history had taught him that sometimes the best path forward was the one that seemed impossible. "If we time our strike carefully," he said, pointing to a weakness in the base's sensor coverage, "we can catch them completely unprepared." As the military leaders discussed the plan, Sung Ho reflected on how humanity's past had prepared them for this moment. Centuries of espionage, counterintelligence, and learning to think like their opponents had given humans unique skills. "One more thing," he added. "The infiltrators we've been tracking, it's time to use them. We can feed them false information about our fleet movements." The operation came together quickly. While Earth's fleet prepared for their assault on the supply base, Sung Ho's team orchestrated an elaborate deception. The Draxid agents were allowed to report movements suggesting an attack in the opposite direction. "Sometimes the best way to hide the truth," he told his team, "is to let the enemy think they've discovered your secrets." The final piece fell into place when they decoded the base's supply schedules. There would be a brief window when its defenses would be reduced to allow for major shipment arrivals. "That's our moment," Sung Ho said, marking the time. "When they're expecting cargo ships, they'll get something very different." As he prepared the final intelligence briefing for the fleet commanders, Sung Ho thought about how far humanity had come. The Draxids had seen humans as simple beings uplifted by the Centaurians, not understanding that Earth's long history of conflict and deception had created unique strengths. "The greatest weapon," he told his team as they finished their work, "is the one your enemy doesn't know you have. And humanity's greatest weapon has always been our ability to think differently." The intelligence he had gathered would help turn the tide of war. But more importantly, it proved that humanity's experiences, even the darker chapters of their history, had prepared them for this moment among the stars. The massive form of the EDF Thunder emerged from quantum slip, its dark hull reflecting distant starlight. Admiral Yang Do-hyun stood on the command deck, his experienced eyes scanning tactical displays as nearly 500 Earth vessels materialized around his flagship. "All ships reporting ready," his tactical officer announced. "The Draxid base is detecting our presence." Do-hyun nodded calmly. At 55, he had spent most of his career preparing Earth's space forces for moments like this. The Thunder, nearly 2 kilometers long, represented humanity's greatest achievement in warship design. "Enemy vessels moving to intercept," Tactical reported. "Reading 300-plus ships. They're forming standard combat formations." The Draxid fleet approached in perfect geometric patterns, their ships arranged in layered defensive screens. Do-hyun allowed himself a small smile. The enemy's predictability would be their downfall. "Begin Phase 1, he ordered. "All ships execute Pattern Echo." The human fleet split apart like mercury droplets, breaking into smaller groups of 15 to 20 vessels each. The maneuver, inspired by ancient wolf pack tactics, confused the Draxid targeting systems, which were designed to track large formation movements. "Strike groups, select your targets," Do-hyun commanded. "Remember your training. Hit and fade. Don't let them pin you down." The Thunder led its battle group straight toward the enemy center. Their modified weapons were specifically tuned to disrupt Draxid shield frequencies. The first volley struck home before the enemy could adjust their defenses. Multiple direct hits, Tactical reported with professional calm. Enemy formations are attempting to compensate. The Draxid fleet tried to maintain their rigid structure, but human strike groups attacked from all directions. Every time the enemy shifted to face one threat, 3 more groups would hit their exposed flanks. Launch fighter squadrons, Du-hyun ordered. The Thunder's massive hangars opened, releasing swarms of small craft. Earth's fighters were smaller than Draxid vessels, but piloted by humans who had learned space combat through thousands of simulator hours. "Admiral," his sensor officer called out, "the enemy is launching their own fighters." "Perfect. Execute Phase 2. The human fighters engaged their Draxid counterparts in a swirling dance of energy weapons and precision flying. But this was merely a distraction. While the enemy focused on the fighter battle, Earth's capital ships moved into their second attack pattern. "All heavy cruisers, target their command ships," Du-hyun ordered. "Coordinate fire through the Thunder's targeting network." The Thunder's main guns spoke, sending lances of energy through space. Other human capital ships fired in perfect synchronization, overwhelming the shields of a Draxid command vessel. The enemy ship broke apart, its destruction creating confusion in their command structure. "They're trying to rally around their flagship," Tactical noted. Standard response pattern. Do-hyun had expected this. The Draxids always protected their command vessels, making them predictable targets. "All strike groups, execute pattern Sigma. Let's show them why we named this ship Thunder." The human fleet's scattered groups suddenly converge, their seemingly random movements revealing a carefully planned trap. The Draxid fleet found itself caught in a massive crossfire. "Main batteries, fire at will," Du-hyun commanded. The Thunder's weapons released their full fury, joined by hundreds of other human vessels. Space itself seemed to light up as energy weapons and missiles struck from every angle. The Draxid ships fought back fiercely, their own weapons blazing. Several human vessels took heavy damage, but their crews had trained for this. Emergency systems engaged automatically, and damaged ships quickly withdrew to safe distances. "Enemy fleet is breaking formation," Tactical announced. "Their command structure is compromised." Do-hyun watched as the precise Draxid formations began to crumble. Without central coordination, each ship fought individually, exactly what the humans had planned for. "Begin Phase 3, he ordered. "All ships engage at will. Fighter squadrons, commence attack runs on their support vessels." The battle devolved into dozens of smaller engagements, exactly the kind of chaos humans excelled at. Earth's ships demonstrated superior mobility and adaptation, while Draxid vessels struggled without their usual tactical structure. "Sir, enemy flagship is making a run for the supply base," his executive officer reported. "Not today," Du-hyun said quietly. "Thunder Battle Group, form on me. All weapons, prepare for maximum output." The Thunder and its escorts cut through the battlefield like a blade, intercepting the Draxid flagship's escape route. The enemy vessel was larger, but the Thunder had been built for exactly this kind of engagement. "Target their primary power systems," Du-hyun ordered. "Fire when ready." The Thunder's main guns fired in sequence, each shot precisely timed to hit as the enemy's shield cycled. The Draxid flagship's defenses failed under the assault, and precision shots disabled its engines. "Enemy vessel is dead in space," Tactical reported. "Their fleet is in full retreat." Do-hyun watched as the remaining Draxid ships fled in disorder, abandoning their supply base. The battle had been won, but he knew this was just the beginning. "Secure the supply base," he ordered. "I want boarding teams ready within the hour. The intelligence we gain here could help us end this war." As damage reports came in, Du-hyun reflected on how humanity's different approach to warfare had proved superior. The Draxids had expected another predictable enemy, but humans had brought centuries of tactical evolution to space. "Send word to Earth Command," he told his communications officer. The thunder lives up to its name. Phase 1 of Operation Breaking Storm is complete. The supply base, now under human control, would change the course of the war. But more importantly, the battle had proven that humanity's greatest strength wasn't their technology or numbers, but their ability to think and fight in ways the enemy never expected. Captain Kang Myray stood before the Council of the Artaxian species, her diplomatic uniform crisp despite the long journey. The crystalline chamber reflected light in mesmerizing patterns, but she kept her focus on the tall, silver-skinned beings seated before her. "These records are disturbing," the chief speaker said, examining the evidence of Draxid attacks. "We had heard rumors, but this confirms our worst fears." Myray nodded solemnly. At 35, she had become Earth's most effective diplomatic officer, touring the galaxy to show other species the truth about the conflict. "The Draxids attacked the Centaurians without cause," she explained. "When Earth intervened to help our allies, we discovered evidence of their larger plans." She activated a holographic display, showing captured Draxid military documents. The images revealed plans for expansion far beyond Centaurian space, targeting multiple peaceful species. "They saw us all as weak," Myray continued. "They believed that species who chose diplomacy over military conquest were easy targets." The Artaxian council members communicated silently among themselves, their natural telepathy allowing rapid discussion. Myray waited patiently, having learned the diplomatic protocols of dozens of species. "Your people have surprised many," the chief speaker finally said. "When the Centaurians first contacted Earth, few expected humans to become such a significant force." Myray smiled gently. "We learned long ago that true strength isn't just about military power. It's about standing up for what's right, protecting those who need help." Reports arrived during her presentation, showing more Draxid defeats. Their once mighty empire was crumbling as subject worlds rebelled, and allied forces pushed forward. But the Draxid leadership remained stubborn. "We've offered peace terms 3 times," Myray explained to the council. Each offer was more generous than the last. The Draxid High Command refuses to even discuss them. The Artaxians shared her concern. Their species had fought the Draxid centuries ago, barely maintaining their independence. Now they saw an opportunity to prevent future aggression. "The Artaxian Federation will support your coalition," the chief speaker announced. "Our resources are at your disposal." Myray bowed in their traditional manner. "Earth thanks you. We hope to end this conflict with minimal further bloodshed." Later, aboard her diplomatic vessel, Myray reviewed messages from other Earth representatives. Similar meetings were happening across the galaxy. Species that had once viewed humans as primitive newcomers now sought their alliance. "Captain," her communications officer called out, "urgent message from Earth Command. The Draxids have responded to our latest peace offer." Myray opened the message, hoping for signs of reason. Instead, she found only pride and defiance. The Draxid leadership declared they would rather see their empire burn than surrender to lesser beings. "Send a reply," she ordered. "Remind them that our terms include preserving their culture and autonomy. We seek peace, not conquest." The response came quickly. Another rejection. Myray understood pride, but this was beyond reason. Every day of delay meant more deaths on both sides. "Plot a course for the Nexus system," she told her navigator. "The collective species have requested a meeting." The diplomatic vessel engaged its quantum drive, carrying Myray to her next mission. She spent the journey studying reports from the front lines. Human and allied forces continued advancing, but the Draxid military fought fiercely despite their leaders' poor decisions. At the Nexus system, the collective greeted her with their unique form of welcome, a display of synchronized light patterns. These energy beings had observed the conflict from afar, but now sought involvement. "Your species fights with unexpected wisdom," their representative communicated directly to her mind. "You defeat your enemies but continue offering peace." Myray shared images of Earth's history, showing how humans had learned from their own conflicts. "We remember the cost of pride," she explained. "Wars should end when victory is clear, not continue until total destruction." The collective agreed to add their considerable influence to the peace efforts. Their ancient status among galactic species carried weight even with the Draxids. But the Draxid leadership remained unmoved. Their empire crumbled around them as more worlds declared independence. Still, they refused to acknowledge defeat. They believe accepting peace would shame their ancestors, Myray explained during an emergency council meeting. Their entire culture centers on proving their superiority. The assembled representatives from 24 species discussed options. Some advocated for a final military push to end the war. Others suggested economic pressure through trade embargoes. Myray proposed a different approach. "Let's show them a path that preserves their honor," she suggested. "Not surrender, but transformation. Their empire can become a federation, their military strength turned to defensive purposes." The council spent hours refining the proposal. Myray drew on everything she had learned about Draxid culture, finding ways to help them accept change without feeling defeated. "Pride can be redirected," she told the council. "They can take pride in becoming protectors rather than conquerors." The new proposal was sent to the Draxid High Command. As she waited for their response, Myray visited refugee camps where displaced civilians of various species sought shelter. Their stories strengthened her resolve to find a peaceful solution. "The Draxids aren't evil," she wrote in her personal log. "They're trapped by their own beliefs. Our challenge isn't to destroy them, but to help them evolve." But time was running out. Military commanders warned that the final push toward the Draxid homeworld couldn't be delayed much longer. Myray knew that pride might yet force a bloody conclusion to the war. "Sometimes," she told her staff, "the greatest victory is helping your enemy find a way to accept peace." All she could do now was hope the Draxids would choose wisdom over pride before it was too late. The massive Earth fleet emerged from quantum slip around the Draxid homeworld, their ships forming a perfect blockade pattern. Commander Park Jin stood on the bridge of his command vessel, watching the planet's defensive stations track their arrival. Final numbers confirmed, his tactical officer reported. 800 Earth ships, supported by 300 allied vessels. The Draxid home fleet is maintaining defensive positions. Jin studied the enemy formations. The remaining Draxid forces had gathered for one last stand, protecting their capital world with everything they had left. "Open a channel," he ordered. "All frequencies, all languages." "This is Commander Park Jin of the Earth Defense Force. To the Draxid High Command and all military forces, we offer you one last chance for peace. Your empire has fallen. Your colonies have declared independence. There is no victory to be found in further resistance." The response came quickly, proud and defiant. "We will never surrender to lesser beings. The Draxid Empire will die with honor rather than live with shame." Jin sighed softly. He had expected this response, but he had to try. "All ships, battle positions. Remember your orders. Minimal civilian casualties. Precision targeting only." The space around the Draxid homeworld erupted in fire as both sides engaged. Earth's fleet executed complex maneuvers, their tactics refined by months of warfare. The Draxids fought with desperate courage, but they couldn't match the combined might of humanity and its allies. "Their outer defense line is breaking," Tactical reported. "Ground batteries are targeting our ships. Launch the dropships," Jin commanded. "Security teams ready for deployment. Remember, we're here to end this war, not destroy their civilization." Earth's ground forces landed in key locations around the capital city. Jin watched from orbit as his troops advanced with careful precision, disabling defense systems and securing strategic points. The Draxid military fought street by street, but their resistance grew weaker. By the third day, their remaining forces were surrounded in the capital's central fortress. "The High Command is inside," intelligence reported. "They're preparing for a final stand." Jin took personal command of the ground operation. Wearing powered armor, he led his troops toward the fortress entrance. The massive doors were sealed, defense turrets tracking their approach. "Hold position," he ordered. Then he did something unexpected. He walked forward alone, his weapons powered down. "I request a meeting with the High Command," he broadcast. "No weapons, no tricks. Let us speak one final time." Minutes passed in tense silence. Finally, the fortress doors opened. Hejin entered alone, following silent guards to the command chamber. The Draxid leaders waited there, proud even in defeat. "You have proven your strength," the High Commander said. "Finish it. Give us an honorable death." Hejin removed his helmet, letting them see his face. "No, we offer you something harder than death, the chance to change." He activated a holographic display, showing images from Earth's history. "My people once fought countless wars among ourselves. We learned that true strength lies not in conquest, but in growth. Not in destruction, but in transformation." The Draxid leaders watched as he showed them Earth's plan. Not occupation or punishment, but rehabilitation. Their worlds would retain autonomy under a new federation. Their military would be reformed, turned toward defense and peacekeeping. "You can die today, adding your names to a list of failed conquerors," Hejin said quietly. "Or you can lead your people toward a better future. The choice is yours." Hours passed as the Draxid leadership debated. Finally, they made their decision. The High Commander stepped forward, and for the first time in their species' history, bowed to another. "We choose life," he declared. "We choose change." The news spread quickly across the galaxy. Many had expected humanity to exact revenge, to destroy the Draxid civilization. Instead, they showed mercy and wisdom that impressed even ancient species. Years later, Hejin stood on the observation deck of the rebuilt New Hope colony. The city's crystal spires had been restored, now stronger than before. Below, Centaurians and Draxids worked together, their past hatred replaced by cautious friendship. "Quite a view, isn't it?" Captain Kang Mei joined him at the window. The diplomatic officer had played a crucial role in implementing the peace accords. "Sometimes I wonder if we made the right choice," Hejin admitted. "The Draxids caused so much destruction." Mei smiled. "Look down there. Former enemies building something together. That's a victory greater than any battle." Hejin nodded slowly. Earth had surprised everyone, including themselves. They had proven that a species could be both powerful and merciful, both strong and wise. As the sun set over New Hope, painting the crystal towers in golden light, Hejin thought about how far they had all come. Humanity had earned its place among the stars not through conquest or technology, but through the strength of its character. The galaxy had changed, and with it, the meaning of power itself. True strength, they had shown, lay not in the ability to destroy, but in the wisdom to build, to heal, and to forgive.